Hello my felting friends, and welcome to this Tuesday's Because I Felt Like It video. And as you can see on the screen, we are going to make Wooligan. Now if you wonder who Wooligan is, he's our brand new channel mascot. And now you might hear Wooligan and think it sounds a bit like hooligan, and you'd be right. But don't worry, there's nothing rowdy about this little guy. He's just a cheeky bit of fun to celebrate our love of wool and felting with a playful twist on the name. And I made him as a celebration of the fact that I reached 1,000 subscribers, and I thought we need something to really set this going. So I wanted him as a mascot, and this is what we're going to make. And he's here to cheer us on, poke fun at us, and keep us company while we all create something amazing. So you'll probably see him pop up from time to time and maybe even get a little mischief going. So he's our new mascot. I hope you like him, and I'm going to make a little badge or something as well. If you're on my Facebook group, you will already have your little badge if you want it. But anyway, please welcome Wooligan, and I will show you how to make him. So we're going to start off by having a cardboard tube. This is a loo roll holder tube, and whatever fabric you like. I'm using this as a glasses container, but if you wanted it for pencils or something, then you can choose your fabric appropriately. I wanted something soft, so I happen to have this felt, so that's what I've done. So you can see I've popped it in the tube, and I'm just going to cut the bottom up a little bit like this so that I can fold it over, as you'll see, and it will cover the bottom over. So any size cardboard tube, you can use this. It doesn't have to be for your glasses. I'm just a bit dippy and lose mine a lot, but you could use it for pens, pencils, something like that if you wanted to. So this is what I'm doing. So I'm just out comes the old Bostik as usual, and I'm just gluing that in place, and I used my Sharpie just to push it down a little bit, and then I just need to leave that to dry. But you can see my glasses fit in there quite nicely, so I would suggest you check your glasses, because obviously different size glasses might not fit in the tube, and you might need to find a different tube or make yourself a tube. So anyway, that's all glued now. We just need to let that dry. Now in the description box I'm going to leave you a drawing, which is basically what I used, but I went over it in a Sharpie later, and you can use that as a rough guide. Now before you start, if you're going to make this, make the legs a good third longer than in the picture, and the same with the arms, because I actually had to go back and lengthen both the arms and my legs, and my arms ended up 2.5–3 inches long, and the legs ended up a good 2 inches long. So if you were going to do this, my biggest suggestion would be to just not do the feet, just make the shape and leave the length at the bottom until you're ready to decide the length you want. Then you can just fold them over and cover them in wool, and you'll see what I mean as we go along. That way you've got the choice of the length. So I'm basically I'm no expert, as you can quite clearly see, on making wire armatures. So I'm just winging it as I go, which is why I ended up not making the arms and legs long enough. So I definitely would just put the wire in, leave it extra long, and then do the folding over the end bits at the end. But all I'm attempting to do is just to get something to wrap the wool around. And this wire that I've got, it's gardening wire, so it's reasonably strong, but you can bend it, as you can see. But it also, the reason I bought it was it's got little tiny ridges on the plastic, which was great because obviously it helps hold the wool. So but whatever wire you've got, it's just really got to make him so he'll stand up, but he hasn't got to stand up by himself. He's going to support himself on something else. So this is just to build the shape round, really. Just make sure you've got plenty of wire on his legs, because they obviously do need to stay straight and support some of his body weight, but the rest of him is just going to be fixed to the log. I'm actually making this on the Sunday and the Monday, when this goes up, that Monday night into Tuesday morning, because I didn't know what to make, and it suddenly occurred to me that I've just made all these little bits for Wooligan, and I thought what a great make he would do. So this is what I've done. So this is an unexpected make. Right, so what I've done here, this is just core wool. I'm doing too much yakking. This is core wool or any wool. This is what I'm going to use to bulk him out. So you just want to wrap it around his little body and his little legs and things like that. But as I say, if you leave the wire long, just don't wrap his feet. Just leave the wire dangling down until you get the length you want. And I'm literally just wrapping it around this because, in any old way, because I'm going to fill out his body quite a bit. He gets quite chubby. But try and keep his arms fairly slim. They end up a little bit chunky anyway, which is fine, but you want to keep them fairly slim and smooth. So you can wind all the way down his arms and legs, I say, just leave the bottoms. And this cornwall was a nice sheep colour. Hadn't been dyed, so I guess it would be sheep colour. But so that's what I end up leaving that, although I make it a bit neater. I leave that on his arms and his legs because I liked the arms, legs and face because I liked the colour of it. But obviously your sheep, if you decide to make it, can be whatever colour combinations you like, really. And you obviously don't have to put the W on his chest. You could put anything you like. So this is the bit I've chosen to do his feet and his little hands, I suppose his hands with. But just ignore this bit temporarily. Like I say, do this when you know you're ready to fix him to his stand. And with this, I did wrap it round quite high up because I want to go back with my leg colour and neaten up, have a nice neat line round his hoof. So you'll see it's gone quite up far up his legs, and then I wrap this same colour back round, but it really neatly as it goes around his hoof, so that we have a nice sharp line there. And then I'll just go back up his leg and then just use that wool anywhere around his body, really. And the nice thing with this sheep is you're not trying to make a realistic sheep, so it's not important too much about his proportions and things like that, so you could just have fun. As long as he ends up looking a bit sheep-like, then you're fine. There's no restriction on what you can do at what length and all this. And as you can see, I'm just building out his little body. And just don't really, on his legs, I don't really want to put any more wool on than that at the moment. Now what I'm going to do here is I've got the basic body, like you can't really see the drawing, but I've looked at it a bit and I realise he needs to be a little wider and a little fatter. So that's what I'm doing. And because this is all new to me as well, I'm making little pillows just to fill him out at the fronts and sides. He does grow, like all my things grow, and he ends up bigger than his drawing, but I'm not worried about that. I don't really mind because it doesn't affect the end thing, because I will make the container fit whatever size he ends up with. So as long as I end up with a sheep shape say that after a Guinness, so long as I end up with a sheep shape, I'm not worried. So I've put the pillow on the front to make him a little rounder, and now I'm just filling in the sides. So I put a little pillow either side, and I do put one on his back, but I want his tummy to be rounder than his back. So when it's done, he's going to have a little bit of a paunch and not so much on the back. But you'll see as we go along. And honestly, I'm really rubbish at this because I'm not measuring, I'm just rolling stuff up and sticking it on. If you want to see someone who's just working out as they go along, this is me. So this one's on his back, and this is going to be much flatter. I don't know whether you saw as I spun him round a little bit. Now that loop at the top on his head, that is because later on I'm going to use that. You can make that longer as well if you want, because I'm going to use that to help anchor his head. Now what I'm doing here, I wanted to have some fixing on his feet that you'll see later what I'm doing with it. But again, because I ended up needing to make his legs longer, and I'd got these wires there already, I actually used most of those wire length to make his legs longer. So these weren't long enough for what I wanted at the end. But if you watch this through first, you'll see what you need to change when you come to do the end. So just imagine I'm doing this, but it's almost at the end of those wires rather than that short. And the wires will make sense later as well, so not to worry. I came up with Wooligan because I was reading something and it just triggered the word triggered my brain, because I was reading something about it had the word hooligan in it, and it just triggered me like things do. And I just thought, that's really funny, because I have a warped sense of humour, and I thought that's really funny. We could have Wooligan instead of hooligan. And I thought, well, if you think about it, we're all a little rebellious, and we get a little crazy with our wool and stuff like that. And I just thought it was funny. So you'll have to forgive my warped sense of humour. So now here I have a slightly different colour, and I'm just going to do his body. I just want his body in this colour. I wanted it to, so his legs contrast a bit. It's not that much, it's just a creamy colour. But again, any colour you like really. And I found with this, I wrapped it round as you saw, and then when I looked at his body, you could see that it went round his body. You could see the lines in the wool were going round. So what I did afterwards, I just took some more of it, just thinly, this is what I'm doing here, and I laid it over the top so it just kind of masked the round bit that went round his body. But you can see how chunky I've made him now. And you need to felt that quite well, and that needs to be fairly firm. You can't have a jiggly sheep on this one. It needs to be quite firm. So here I'm just doing his head. Now again, I was going for it's reasonably big, and I wanted it to end up more or less like an egg shape, which is what I'm going for. And I want his nose part to be a little bit round. As you see, if you look in the finished pictures, you'll see he's got a bit of a round nose. I don't know whether you can see. So it's kind of broader than it is round, but it narrows down towards his nose. I'm hoping you can see what I'm saying. And again, that wants to be quite firm because we're going to later on felt his little face on there, so that can't be too soft. And when it sits, if you look, when it sits on his body, his chin's going to come down a bit over his chest. Can you see? So you want that angle. Now, if you haven't got this thing here, don't worry about it, just do it on your felt mat. I'm just now going to make some ears. And this is easier to use that little multi-tool on rather than trying to squish it into my felt mat. But you can do it with just a needle. So make them quite large, these ears, larger than you think you're going to want. And as you do it, if you can see, I'm leaving a fluffy end. So you want to make sure you have a fluffy end. And they want to be quite firm. If you want to get really technical with it, which I didn't bother on these because I like the fluffy, fuzzy thing, you could give them a very, very quick iron over and flatten them down a bit, but I was quite happy with them. So I made two, and then I'm just putting a little bit of pink just inside. This was just a little bit, just a hint of pink really. I just wanted to break the beige up. And his ears are that same beige that his body is. I don't know whether I mentioned that. But you'll see they're quite big. Mind your fingers if you do that. So I chose which part of his head I wanted to have as his face, and then I will add his ears on to his head once I know that for sure. And I'm just folding them over, as you can see, and just like squishing them together a bit. So once I'm happy with where I'd like his face, I'm just going to put the ears on, and I've put them on. They're sort of almost going around the back of his head and come forward. So they're not on the top of his head or anything. I'm hoping you can see how they are. Now I'm going to make the squiggly bits on the top of his head. I do hope you like my technical terms. The squiggly bits of the sheep wool on his head. So if you see, I pull long strands and then I tighten them and tighten them and tighten them by turning them until they actually roll back on themselves. So just keep the ends and keep checking. If you just push them together, they'll start to roll up. And then I'm just going to work round. So with these, what I'm going to do is I'm going to work round in an outer circle. So I mark off where I know I want the outer ring of his hair to be, of his woolly hat. And then I will fill it in all the way around. See how much longer I made his arms and how chunky he is. Right, so there you go. I've done the outer bit, see the circle all the way around, and now I'm just going to fill in the middle. Takes a few minutes this, because you need to make sure you roll each thing up. Just keep them roughly the same size. Mine did get a few bigger and a few smaller, but it didn't matter. Just keep them roughly the same size. So saying the tighter you get this, the more squiggly bits you'll get. And then you just keep doing that till you've filled in this head, really. You could do this all over his body if you wanted to. I didn't, because I wanted to put the W on his chest and I thought that would get a bit complicated. So this is why I just gave him a hairdo. There you go. He's starting to come to life now. I have a bumblebee. Oh no, he's gone again. Now I'm marking off where I want his face. Again, on the picture, if you want to go download it, you can, or just go and have a look at it. It will show you the face expression you want, but depends how big your sheep is. You'll just have to work out the size you want to put on the sheep, because obviously in the end all the sheep will probably be roughly different sizes. So, but if you just follow the picture, then you'll have the same sort of face that he's got. And I'm just doing this in thin bits of black. I didn't want to make eyes and things for this one. I thought he looked more fun with the actual, almost like a drawing face. Oh, you see, got to find somewhere to put my glasses. And then we're just going to put a little blob of black in there for his eyeball. Oh, and I'd like to thank everyone who responded to my questions about whether I should do a Patreon or not, and what you would like if I do it. I appreciate the response and the comments. That was lovely, thank you. And if anybody else wants to know, I'm not doing it yet. It's just there you go. It's quite cute. It's just an idea at the moment. But if you want to hear what I'm thinking of doing, it's on my video for the 1,000 subscribers video. It's on there. So if you go back and have a look at that, it'll tell you what I'm thinking of doing. And if you want to have some input and make some suggestions or anything, then do feel free. You can just comment for me. But I'm not doing it yet. I'm still pondering it at the moment. If I do decide to do it, I want to do it so it's really good. It's good value and it's worth doing. I don't want people to sign up for it and get disappointed. So I'd rather take a bit of extra time and really make sure if I'm going to do it, I get it right for you. So you can give him any expression you want, really. And I like when I do, you'll see when I do on my pictures that I make, when I do smiley faces on animals, I like to give them this little extra dimply bits on the corners. I think it finishes off the mouth. It's just the little white dots in his eyes, just brings them to life really. Definitely worth adding. It's not actually a complicated face, it's just a little bit fiddly because you're working with um, thin bits of wool. In actual fact, I thought as well, if you didn't want to, you could always draw it on, use a Sharpie. Well, be careful, check it out first because it can sometimes be difficult to draw on wool with felt pens, so you might want to try something, a test before you do that. Right, so here I am, I'm just attaching his head now. So I put that bit of wire up into a bit I cut in the back of his head that I did earlier. So I've sat it on there, and now I've just joined it all on to the body so it's firm. And here I am just attempting to make the letter W on his little chest. I don't know whether you can hear the bird song, but it's a lovely summer's evening here, and I've got the windows open. And it's really lovely to hear. I've got a nice gentle breeze and everything. So there we are, we have a W. Now we're going to start assembling this. Now what you've got here is, that's a coaster. It's a very thin cork coaster, so I stuck two together so it's a little firmer. I made a disc out of the core wool to fit over it, and then I made the other bit where you saw me take the roll bit out. I just made that's completely core wool because I needed something I can fix everything to, and I checked my sheep first, and then I made the little stand that this tube is standing on so that the whole thing was tall enough that the sheep can lean on it. So you'll have to adjust it for whatever height you want, but you can see at the bottom I can felt right into it now that I've wrapped this wool around. Now I'm trying not to gabble for you, but when you come to go up the tube, obviously you can't needle felt into the tube itself. So I needle felt all along the sides of the tube. So if you look at how my needle's going, I'm going sideways all the way. And I will just keep building this up until I get to the top, because as you're going sideways, you're kind of pushing some of the wool down. So you'll need to add to the top. Now, when I get to the top, I'm actually, because I've used felt, I've taken some of that wool over the top and attached it so it goes right over into the tube itself. Now this is going to be obviously the base where the sheep's going to stand, so I'm going to cover this in whatever colour you want, and this underside eventually will be covered with the cork mat that we've got, but obviously I want the edges all green, so I've made sure to fold it over, and I'm not bothered about that being neat. So what I'm doing here is I'm trying to do, so you can see I've made the tube high enough up that he will lean on it. Now again, I've taken that green, but I'm not going all the way up the tube on this. I'm just going randomly up different heights and everything. But so cover the bottom and then just go all the way around with whatever green you'd like, and just vary the heights that it goes up. There we are. Now because I've got the bottom of the tube area is all core wool, I can needle felt right into it and use it to attach a little disc base to the base of the tube, and I can needle felt right in. So I'm making sure that that goes right in, and then underneath I can again do the same thing because it's all core wool. When I'm happy that that's firm enough, it's still going to be a little bit wobbly because it hasn't got its base, but when I'm happy that that's firm enough and attached, then I'm now going to go on to making some tree roots. And what I've done is I've got more than one colour brown because I don't want it one colour, and I'm just rolling this around till I get something that I like that's a little bit firm, and by rolling it you firm it up. and then I'm going to just attach it. I want to attach it so it goes over that edge and underneath, and then just put your roots however you like, going up to the tube area. And then, because this is still, we're still felting between the base and the tube, and this will help to attach it more. If you watch, we're going to go along the bottom and then into the tube, and then it's just however many roots you like, really. But do mix your walls like I'm doing. I also thought as well that I didn't do it. I might go back and do it if I can manage it. Now I've put the cork base on, and put a few little stones, because I want it to go with my phone holder. I don't know, you can just see at the top of the picture there. I made myself a phone holder, and my plan is to make all sorts of useful things in sort of foresty theme to sit on my desk, so they all kind of match and go together, but will hold my bits and pieces and all the things that I tend to use there. So this is what I'm doing. It's sort of kind of like a weird set, or it will be when it's finished. So all the colours I'm keeping fairly similar, and my phone holder has got stones and pebbles, so I might go back and add a few into this. So I'm just building my roots up. I'm adding some darker wool as well, because I want a bit more contrast between the roots and the dark part of the tree under there. So I do take my very dark brown and outline some of the roots and things in them, just a thin line. It just gives a bit of extra shading to them. So what I'm doing here is I'm just taking all different bits of browns, just a hint of the lighter colour. I don't want very much of that in it, as you can see, but I've got all different browns, and I'm going to just pull them roughly until I've mixed them together. Just, you don't see me do it, but I do this for quite a while until I've got it all kind of roughly mixed together, and then I pull it so it's in strands going in one direction, and then I'll just lay it on here and I'll work it down and fill in the tree trunk all the way around. But I'm just grabbing random bits of that stuff we've made, and it will make it look like bark. It gives you lots of texture and different colours and things like that in it. So then you just got to do this all the way around the tube, and make sure you take it over the top like that. If you don't have anything to felt into on the top, you could take it over later and glue it down. But you want to really make sure that you've got over the top as well. And then just go all the way around until it's done like that. And now what I wanted to do, I had a look at this and I thought that green was a little dull. So I mixed a little bits of other lighter greens together. And then I'm just going to just sparingly put some of those over the base and a little bit up the tree. Just some little highlighty bits. But I don't put it in terribly big blobs. I do try and spread it out a little bit. Look. And as long as you keep felting alongside the tube or down into the core wool base, you'll be fine. If you wanted to as well, I say you could put some little rocks in here, needle felted rocks obviously. You could have some little dots of colour for a few flowers. I've got some more here, that's the tiny last bit left over that I had, and it has teeny weeny little dots of colour in, so I'm just using that up really. But you don't really see them, just little teeny bits. Right, so when you're happy with that, we're going to mark out where we want the feet of our sheep. Oh, first of all, I forgot that bit. We're going to obviously put the this cork base or whatever base you've got, but if you want a base you can make a hole in, and you'll see why in a minute. That's why I use this cork. But you could do it with thick card, but you'll want to, we're going to have another layer of cork on top of this as well in a minute. And all I'm doing here is I want the green to come down over the cork so you can't see the cork. So I'm just encouraging the front edge over a bit. And I'm just filling the bottom in so it's tidy. I may put this on a complete base at some point, but as it was a surprise make for me as well, I hadn't actually got any thing for a base. I'm still going in and making sure I'm happy with the way that's gone over the top. Right, so now is when I'm going to mark out where I want his feet to go. Now, if you've done what I've said, you will have extra long wire still, even though you'll now have his little hooves done and you'll have his legs. You'll have extra long wire, which I didn't have, because I did have enough on one foot, but I didn't really have enough on the other. And what I want to do is push the wire, because it wasn't quite long enough. I push the wire through that, take it through the cork, and then bend it so it's fixed in place. But unfortunately, I didn't quite have enough for the back one. But this one I did, so I've managed to get it through and split it like that. It was just to help anchor it, really. And then you just need to carefully, because obviously you've now got your cork there, you'll just want to carefully just fix everything back and tidy it up. Because where I had to manhandle his little legs, they got a little bit fluffy. And now I'm deciding how I want his arm to go to the tree. So I could have him with his arm over the tree, or I want him to look like he's leaning on it. So that's what I'm doing. So it's just now trying to get his arm to attach to the tree, but you can do it from underneath as well. So get it attached best you can. And I thought because I didn't have him leaning on the top of that and he was kind of leaning on the side, I thought he looked a little odd. So I'm making a little extra branch stubby bit. Right, yeah, so I made this little stump so that he looks like he's got something to rest his arm on. And then I made a brighter end to it, but I didn't like it was too bright, so I've gone over it with a little bit of brown. Now, I happen to keep my broken needles. I keep them in here. You never know why. I don't know why I keep them. But anyway, it's very handy. So that's not sharp at all, as you could see. And I'm just going to feed it through. In my mascot picture that I have in my Facebook group, he's actually holding it up like a sword, but I just know that's an accident in my case waiting to happen if I've got a pokey metal thing that sticks up. So I've shaped it so that it's going to point down and I won't catch my eyeballs or anything else on it. Yeah, so this bit here, I'm just gluing the final cork bottom over it so it just neatens it up and it looks nice. So we just leave that to dry. So rather than lose an eyeball to this little metal thing, I'm actually going to glue on a little ball of the wool. So I've put it on with some glue and then I'm just going to wrap some extra. And I wanted this fluffy. I haven't, as long as it holds the ball shape, I haven't bothered with it. Otherwise I'm just making it so that it sticks over the end there, so I'm not likely to catch myself. As I say, the needle's not sharp, but it would still take your eye out if you weren't careful. So, and I've aimed it down a bit so that it's not going to actually hurt me. So there we are then. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, don't forget to give me a like and subscribe. Any comments, leave them below, please. Might be a video now that you'd like to watch on the screen. If so, I'll meet you there. If not, I will see you on Friday. Thanks very much for watching. Bye.